Hello. Hi. I, don't mind me. I was just listening to a Pierre Polyev press thing from Sault Ste. Marie because I'd only seen the part about the person he called a heckler who was a journalist trying to ask a follow-up question to a question he didn't answer. Um there's a lot of stuff flying around about like how he's only answered or he's only taken like 67-ish um questions from the media since March. And he's refused to take any questions from, was it CTV, I think, since March. There's a chart out there that's showing that like NDP has taken like 290 some odd questions. Carney's take the block have done like 109, like 180, 190 or something like that. Carney's done like 160, and he's like, and Polyev is just way, way down in those numbers. And I would even say that Carney's a little bit low. But Carney's also had to stop his campaign 3 times. 3 times he's had to stop his campaign. That's a lot. Especially when this is a snap election, it's a very short amount of time. He's only had like a month and a half. But by the end of the campaign cycle. I the thing that is blowing my mind right now is not it's that wasn't the worst part of the things he was saying. One of the policies that he is proposing is related to drug addiction and criminals, like crime. He makes these absurd claims that are not true about violent crime in Canada. And it's just these things aren't true. Like they're just lies and gross misrepresentation. Um and and I have brain rot. I am experiencing burnout. Um and uh there's so besides the stuff that he says is not true, what he's talking about is locking up, like just having more people in prison by doing things like reducing these are off the top of my head a little bit, like the things he would have to do what he wants is like reducing the bail, like make bail less accessible. He wants to do the thing that like I think it was the Clintons did, where like they were like, oh, we're gonna be tough on crime, and then the number of people that were arrested exploded. Um, it like he wants the government. One of the things that he's suggesting is he wants the government to be able to hold you indefinitely without a conviction, because people will get arrested and then they will go out and wait for their trial, right? Like you get arrested, you get charged, then you go on with your life until you go to a trial. Yeah, there were the 3 strikes law. He also wants to do that as well. He brought up that ghost from the past that was struck down in our court system. Um, the Harper tried to do it here too. The idea of the police being able to hold you in jail with no conviction is crazy. That's crazy. Um and that was one of the things. There was a whole nother thing. That other thing was that he wants to get rid of he wants to privatize addiction treatments where they give more funding to groups that can prove less groups that can prove that they've gotten less people doing drugs or something. And the incentive is actually insane. So besides the fact that you are ostensibly selling cures, and he wants to sue pharmaceutical companies because they're the ones who developed the drug. You know what? I have to put the pause on this. This is just what I was listening to as I was prepping for this stream, and I'm like, who's listening to this and thinks it's a good idea? Like, who? I don't know. I don't know. Does anybody know where I can actually go and talk to conservatives? Like, Canadian conservatives? Because, like, what are we supposed to do about this? And I mean, like, the people. Who? Like, talk to me. Because I can't find these people. That, like, yesterday I had Chris Shelton on over on Debate Hub, at Debate Hub Official. And we were talking about, like, the structures and social vibe of America and Trumpism. And two conservatives came into the chat bitching about trans people. We weren't talking about trans people. It had nothing to do with anything. And, like, fine. We started using trans people as an example to the structure of what we were talking about. And then I politely in the chat was like, "All right, enough of this. Move on. Let's stay on topic." And they said, "But you're talking about it." It's like, "No, we're not talking about trans people. We're talking about society using trans people as an example. You guys need to stop being obsessed with everyone's genitals. Conservatives are not able to have a conversation because they are obsessed with dick. Like, they're obsessed with it. You can't have a conversation about budget." One of them even admitted it. They were like, "Yeah, but if you believe this, I think you're delusional, and therefore you have nothing to say about anything else." And I'm like, do you have that opinion about every belief that you don't agree with? Like, regardless of how correct you believe your belief is and how much you believe it is based in science or whatever, that's a different discussion. Do you treat every belief like that? We're talking about, like, global geopolitical positioning of trade of the United States, and their response is, "Yeah, but this kid I don't like named Sarah is gonna win the track meet at buttfuck nowhere high school in the middle of buttfuck nowhere United States." And you care? Like, it's not important. And that's why I think we should implement these policies for the better of the economy. What the fuck? What are we talking about? What are you doing? And I came to a conclusion. I came to a conclusion yesterday and this morning. And my conclusion is that the conservatives that do this, which is not all conservatives, but it's too many of them, and too many conservatives let it happen and let it take over their talking points and their politics and their space. And it's that there are a lot of people right now that exist that are struggling, that are disenfranchised and are angry and they're upset and they feel like they have no control of their lives because of their social economic position in life. They don't feel like they're making enough money. They aren't happy with their job and their life. There's a societal expectation and they don't feel like there was a societal agreement, there was a social contract and that contract hasn't been met. And they're upset by that. And they feel like they have no control. And what do people do when they feel like they have no control? They try to get control. They try to control the things that they can. One of the reasons why you doom scroll at night at the end of your day. It's to take back some time for yourself. But what happens when you pair that with ignorance? What happens when you pair that with anger? What happens when you pair that with dishonest agents trying to take advantage of your vulnerability? The way you take back control, or the way to help you feel better, is by oppressing someone else. Because that's something you can control. You can control, or you can put control via oppression of other groups of people, particularly people that are weaker than you are. Hurt people hurt people. It's bullying. It's grade school bullying. Why does the grade schooler pick on the kid that's weaker and smaller than they are when they have they're getting abused at home and they have no control over their life? They force control onto something they feel like they can that'll make them feel powerful, feel like they're in control, feel like they have something. That's what's happening. That's what's happening in America. That's what's happening with the right-wing conservatives in Canada. That's not gonna solve your problem, Timmy. That's not gonna solve your problem. The people are being bullied by oligarchs. The people are being bullied by corporation. The people are being bullied by this inflation shit. You don't solve that by being angry that some kid you don't like in a town you've never been to, in a sport you've never watched, has an undue advantage that you've invented exists. If you want to solve the problem, you have to talk about the problem. Does Canada have a MAGA-like wing of their Conservative Party? Oh yeah, that's what we've been talking about. Yes, 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 yes. Yes. Absolutely. There is a MAGA version. We call them Maple MAGA. Caveat to a good idea makes it no more different. So, sorry, what? What was that? Sorry, I missed what Feline said. Oh yeah, the legal stuff. Yeah. The deportations and things. Yes. Meanwhile, why would I even want to control other people's personal life to this degree? Yeah, why do you want to? And it's because you don't feel like you have control over your own life. So you're imposing control where you think you can get it to a group that is smaller than you are and weaker than you are, because you're in a position of power, and being in a position of power feels like you're in control when you're clearly not, because that's the only reason why you're mad. It's the only reason why you're mad. So how about put on your big boy pants and have a conversation. Have a conversation about the economy. Have a conversation about what's going on with geopolitics, and don't make it a culture war. Don't make it identity politics, because that's where this is coming from. The left ought not to capitulate to it. You don't negotiate with terrorists. You don't cater to the bully. We're not here to talk about trans people's rights. You can disagree with me all you want. It doesn't matter. That's not what we're talking about. Trans people are people. People have rights. Trans people get rights. The only way you disagree with that if you try to say that you believe that trans people aren't people, and in which case, if you're so obsessed with biology, what's the fucking problem? What are you talking about? I'm so tired. Alright, let's get into this stupid... So I got a couple things. First off, this was written about Elon Musk, and I thought it was funny. I thought you guys get a kick out of it. I have been in the same room with Elon, and he always tries to be funny. And he's not funny. Like, at all. Says a senior Trump administration official. He makes these jokes and little asides and smiles, and then looks almost hurt if you don't lap up his humor. I keep using the word annoying. A lot of people who have to deal with him do. But the word doesn't do the situation justice. Elon just thinks he's smarter than everyone else in the room and acts like it, even when it's clear he doesn't know what he's talking about. Oh, you picked up a bottle? Nice. Musk has gnawed at the patience of an array of high-ranking administration officials to the point that, according to this official and two others, Trump lieutenants have walked out of meetings and earnestly asked one another if they thought Musk was high. Administration officials joked to one another about subjecting Musk to mandatory drug testing, which Musk himself has said would be a great idea for federal employees. A lawyer for Musk has said he's regularly and randomly drug tested at SpaceX and has never failed a test. Quote, talking to the guy is sometimes like listening to really rusty nails on a chalkboard, says the senior Trump administration official, who adds that Musk is not much of a team player either. Quote, he's just the most irritating person I've ever had to deal with, and that is saying something. I just thought I'd show you guys something funny. Yeah, is anybody surprised? Is anybody surprised that this is what fucking he sounds like? So I figured I'd show you this also. This is
I gotta get the Matthews pick because
this is CBC. And CBC is talking about the thing I told you about earlier about Polyev. We watched it yesterday, day before. Polyev talking about a reporter and calling them a protester and a heckler. So let's play this real quick.
I got to get the Matthews pick because we're running out of show. You wanted to talk about something that happened at the Conservative campaign this morning. I'm going to play a clip on this. Pierre Poilievre was taking questions from reporters chosen by the campaign. He takes 4 a day. And our colleague at CTV, Judy Trin, she tried to follow up with a question from the media pen. Have a look at this.
Interference. And I will not allow, and I will not allow.
She's asking, is that why you haven't gotten your security clearance? Because the answer to the question was a non-answer. They asked if he was concerned about taking money from the Modis. He went on a diatribe, started attacking Carney, and saying that, like, well, why doesn't he do this and that? And the answer is Polyev didn't and cannot properly screen who he's taking money from because he hasn't gotten his security clearance. So she's following up with that.
Because you're concerned that Hindu nationalists supporting Narendra Modi is cutting into your financial support for the Conservative Party. Is that why you're not getting a security clearance?
Sorry, I'm listening to the question. Sorry, there's just a protester here. Go ahead.
It's a reporter trying to ask you a legitimate question.
Yeah, that's from her side. Yeah, he called her a heckler and a protester. Called her a protester. She is in the media pen. They put up like a pen and then they shoved all the media in there.
Okay, Matthew, you wanted to highlight that. Why? What stood out about that for you? I mean, there's a lot of things that stands out there, but what's your take on this?
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, you started with the media pen. It looks like a literal zoo with the poor journalists, members of the media behind these fences, quite a bit of distance away from the candidate. We've talked about the bus and everything. But I think what it highlights, this incident today of...
Sorry, I'll clarify the bus thing. Most on the campaign trail in Canada, most traditionally, the media have people that are on the bus and go and travel around with the candidates. The Conservatives Party have it right now. NDP have it right now, and for the first time, the Conservatives are not doing that right now.
Of saying we've got a protester and dismissing the journalist who's trying to ask the question, combined with what happened yesterday with Laura Stone from the Globe and Mail as well, where he had this, quite frankly, bizarre back and forth over rally sizes. I think it does a huge disservice because as much as
we're going to watch that next week.
I hate to admit it, I do agree when people say Pierre Poilievre is not Donald Trump. But these things are a lot like how Donald Trump would behave. And I think that the distaste and discomfort that Canadians have with the way Trump is conducting himself from a policy perspective, tariffs, threats of annexation, things like that, I think also stems into the way of doing politics. Right. I think we're kind of maybe coming back around a little bit on how people feel about that. And so I think it does him a disservice as a candidate. And I think it's a missed opportunity. I mean, not having journalists on the bus, I think, is a way where you miss a lot of these organic things. The Conservatives posted a video of Pierre Poilievre with his kids.
I got to get the Matthews pick because we're running.
So here's from this is Judy. This is the person who was asking the questions, and she's got a video of where they were standing during this conversation.
Algoma, so much worse. The Sioux, Algoma, and Canada need a new Conservative government because only Conservatives support.
They have this pen set up for what? There's no crowd here. This is an empty-ass fucking parking lot. They're not even talking to anybody. They're only talking to this. It's such a fucking setup. It's so unnatural. It's why are you making them be in this weird little pen when there's literally, what are you, protecting them? Are you protecting yourself? What is going on?
Support the policies we need. Policies like treatment for 50,000 Algoma. So
there's a nobody. It's empty.
Algoma and Canada need a new Conservative government.
What is happening? It's a couple of the pictures. I don't know what to tell you.
J'aimerais savoir pourquoi vous ne preniez que 4 questions des journalistes par jour. Est-ce que vous avez peur?
Est-ce que j'ai quoi? Non.
Est-ce que vous avez peur?
No.
Pourquoi vous prenez aussi peu de questions par jour?
La réponse est non, et the response is no. We're here today talking about the choice in the next election. After the lost Liberal decade of, I'll respond in French first, and then, sorry, one of the other journalists was asking for English, so we'll do both.
This is Rachel Gilmore. There's a whole story behind what's going on with her, but which is definitely worth talking about. I'm just not focusing on it right now, but a journalist asked why Poilievre only allows 4 questions per day with no follow-ups. She asks, "Are you scared?" And he says, "No." And then goes off about the lost Liberal decade. What are we doing? What are we doing? With all of the no people. He's like, goes on this whole spiel about rally sizes. It's like, what are you talking about? There's fucking nobody here. And then you have unnecessarily the journalists all clumped together like they're fucking like some kind of problem for you. Unbelievable. Oh, I don't know. Alright. We're on page like 21, right? Yeah, research and development. Here we go. Foreign ownership restrictions. That's where we stopped last time. Do I sound tired? Do I seem exhausted? Do I seem like my brain rot has like seeped into my what? I need a nap. Blink thrice if you're being held hostage by Polyev. Wait till you hear him talk. These are just the policies he has written down. Next week we're gonna start watching him and his rallies and his stuff. You're actually gonna have to get to hear what he has to say. I've been watching and I'm just like, why? Why are we here? What are we doing? Penning the press gives the illusion of a media scrum optics to make him seem more important. Yeah. Alright. No, but you can get a dozen eggs. Foreign ownership restrictions. The Conservative Party supports the relaxing of foreign ownership ownership rules on Canadian industry in concert with our major trading partners in the telecommunications, broadcasting, distribution, and airline industries. Hey. You guys remember that Chatham, Kent assets, that there was a bunch of right-wing extremist media outlets that bought up a bunch of fucking Canadian newspapers, and they're pretending they're Canadian, and they're just all like, and they're shutting down a bunch of media and shutting down a bunch of news access to rural areas. It's that. We believe the government should conduct an immediate review to determine whether to reduce or completely remove these rules. You want to remove rules on foreign telecommunication and broadcast distribution. Yeah, that's not going to increase foreign interference. Infrastructure. The Conservative Party believes the government should allocate a portion of federal retail... Oh, sorry. I apologize. Is that better? The Conservative Party believes the government should allocate a portion of federal retail gasoline taxes to the provinces and territories to fund infrastructure. To augment direct government support for infrastructure, Conservative Party supports using the P3 funding model to expand and hasten the renewal of Canada's infrastructure. But they said they wanted to get rid of the taxes. So if you're going to cut the tax, then you don't have any taxes to allocate into infrastructure. If you axe the tax, then you're not investing in the infrastructure. Financial institutions. The Conservative Party believes... Oh yeah, something that happened yesterday on Debate Hub. I should tell you guys. I'm sorry, I just because I think this is really funny. We were talking about, like, geopolitics and America's position and like the vibes of everybody, right, with Chris, and somebody comes in swinging and is just like, but how many banks operate in Canadian banks operate in America compared to Canada? And it's like, well, nothing is really stopping American banks from happening in Canada, but like, this has been going on for years, and you only just noticed it now because Trump said something wrong about it. And also, I had a giggle because I'm like, uh-oh, the Americans found out that we own a lot of their money. Oh no, what are you gonna do about it? I just thought it was really funny. I gotta kick into that. Alright, anyway. Financial institutions. The Conservative Party believes that government should protect the best interest of consumers by fostering competition and ensuring that the financial service sector is appropriately regulated, balanced with stability and opportunity for success and growth in these institutions. It's the let the market fix itself. which we all know doesn't work. National Security Regulator. The Conservative Party recognizes that efficient capital markets are vital to Canada's prosperity, and that a single national securities regulator with robust enforcement powers is the most effective way to fight white-collar crime and protect the savings of investments of Canadians. We believe the government should work with the provinces and territories to create such a regulator. Who would trust deregulated American banks? Right, exactly. Again, you guys don't get to talk about national security until your party leader has his national security clearance. Regional development. The Conservative Party recognizes that regional development policies are an important part of any comprehensive strategy to assist the regions of Canada to meet the opportunities of the new global economy. The new global economy. This was written in 2023, or published in 2023. Regional development agencies must be depoliticized and focused on attracting new private sector investment. Private sector. Yes. The very essence of economic development, national building, and regional development is the free flow of resources. The Conservative Party supports the extension of Canada's pipeline network to Atlantic Canada and the modernization of Canada's existing pipeline infrastructure as a means of creating Canadian jobs and reducing our dependence on foreign oil. The Conservative Party believes it is essential to the economic survival of provinces and territories and the financial stability of Canada. The provinces and territories are the principal beneficiary of their natural resource development and export. They think the only infrastructure is pipeline infrastructure. Because that's the only one they talk about. That's what they're talking about, developments of an entire region. And the only thing they bring up is pipeline. Nothing about anything. Like, so tired. I'm so tired. There's nothing about like roads, rails, water lines, any other type of like electricity. Nothing about electricity. Intellectual property, patent litigation. Sorry, legislation. The Conservative Party supports the creation of a process that allows the patent holder to restore time lost on 20-year patent protection due to delays in government approval. The Conservative Party supports small and medium businesses and their need to commercialize innovation. To this end, we support a shorter and simplified patent process. Why is everything these people proposing always skewed in a way that will help the upper echelon rather than they say they're supporting small and medium, but whatever they're deciding actually maybe it helps them a little bit, but will mostly help like upper end? Oh yeah, internet infrastructure. Good point. Yep. Copyright legislation. The Conservative Party believes the objectives of copyright legislation should be to create opportunities for Canadian creators to enjoy the fruits of their labor to the greatest possible extent, to ensure the rights of Canadian creators are adequately protected by law, that these rights are balanced with the opportunity for the public to use copyrighted works for teaching, researching, and lifelong learning, to continue to allow an individual to make copies of recordings of musical works and video for that person's personal and individual use, that enforcement is applied fairly and in accordance with international standards. Okay. Keep doing what you're doing, I guess. We believe that reasonable access to copyright works is a critical necessity for learning and teaching for Canadian students and teachers, and that access to copyrighted materials enriches lifelong learning and is an essential component of an innovative economy. We believe the government should give consideration to educational public policy goals within the copyrighted framework and work with industry to increase awareness and develop a public education campaign to better inform users and creators of copyright laws in Canada. We support the elimination of the levy on blank recording materials. All right. Northern development. The Conservative Party believes that it is essential to the economic development. You'd think that as an artist and a YouTuber, I would care more about what they're saying here, and I don't. I don't care. Copyright is a whole big ball of fuck off, and it's like, I can't be bothered. And that's not to say it's not important. It matters. It's very important, but like, Northern development. The Conservative Party believes it is essential to the economic development of the 3 northern territories to ensure they retain 100% of resource royalties through comprehensive resource revenue sharing agreements with the federal government. Decisions about the North should be made in the North by empowering Northerners through the devolution of responsibilities from Indigenous and Northern Canadian affairs to 3 democratically elected territorial and Indigenous governments. Oh no! 3 each or 3 in totality? Because the territories are traditionally, there's 3 of them. So is there going to be 3 democratically elected indigenous governments and 3 democratically elected territorial governments for a total of 6? Or is it just 3? We support strategic investments in nation building, power communications, defense and transportation infrastructure, and scientific research and technological innovation to enable northern solutions to employment, education, health, and social challenges. Okay. Arctic sovereignty. The Conservative Party believes that demonstrating Canada's presence in the Arctic requires both political and economic development in northern Canada. We believe the government should work with the territories to streamline regulatory process, but not the elected indigenous government that you just suggested. Make substantial strategic investments in the territories, particularly in transportation infrastructure and the development of icebreaking capabilities consistent with Canada's need to exert Arctic sovereignty and promote year-round development. Fast track the devolution of provincial type responsibilities to the territories from Indigenous and Northern Canadian affairs and other federal departments, and put who in charge of it. Work in partnership with the government of Yukon, Northwest Territories, and Nunavut to assert and maintain sovereignty in the Canadian Arctic with clear, effective, and consistent rules, and with an integrated, coordinated resource management approach to meet the challenges associated with increased exploration, development, and marine traffic in the Arctic. Tell me, did you guys notice the number of contradictions in here? We want to do more, but we want to take it away. We want to put you in charge of this, but we want to take out your power. We want to reorganize your government structure, but rely on you to do this. No talk of funding. Long-term energy framework. The Conservative Party believes that Canada has natural economic advantage due to an abundance of natural resources that support Canadian prosperity with an affordable and sustainable mix of Canadian energy resources, including hydrogen, renewables, uranium, lithium, hydrocarbons, water, biomass, and hydroelectric. We believe that government should develop a renewable and non-renewable energy framework which takes into account outstanding obligations and which will meet our long-term requirements for domestic consumption and exports. We believe that strengthening global market integration will ensure greater reliability and affordability of energy supplies across Canada. We encourage the government to explore ways to reduce barriers to the movement of energy products across provincial and other borders. The government of Canada should provide leadership and work closely with Indigenous peoples, provincial and territorial governments to align energy goals in the best interest of all Canadians and seek to achieve a positive impact of energy infrastructure development, energy supply, and energy demand in Canada by removing artificial barriers to interprovincial and international energy trade. So, is that in agreement with Mark Carney then? Would that mean that the Conservatives ought to agree with Carney saying that we wants the government to invest in infrastructure for sustainable energy and turn Canada into an energy superpower and do more trade with reliable allies other than America? Yes? We continue to support hydrocarbon exploration, pipeline construction, transportation efficiencies, and plant improvements to increase energy conversion efficiencies and reduce pollutant and greenhouse gas discharges. Oh! You want to reduce greenhouse gases, so you agree that climate change is a problem and sustainability matters. We support the application of nuclear energy and its associated industries to provide energy to Canadians while reducing negative impacts on the environment. Do you? Does your voting record agree? We believe the government should support and encourage the private development of alternative energy sources, fuels, including wind, solar, and geothermal sources of energy. Alternative transportation fuels, including biodiesel from oilseed crops and methanol, ethanol, or methane from biomass and organic waste. Fuel cell technology and the use of hydrogen as transportation fuel. Why does it have to be private? Why does it have to be private? Here's the problem. All right? Here's one of the issues with this. I don't think it's wrong to support and encourage private development. However, it needs to be under the conditions that those things are open source. Because we paid for them. Right? If you're getting support from the government to develop something as a private industry, the taxpayers are paying for that. You're being subsidized. And that means that we, the people, should have access to what it is that you develop. Right? So whether it be that you make it open source, whether it be that you provide like the data, what we need to get something out of it that isn't you just offering to sell us the thing that we paid for you to develop. It has to be private so the middleman can profit from national resource. Right, exactly. So it needs to be available. That's where the R&D grants that they are canceling would be. Yes, thank you, Jason. Absolutely, that too. That is where what is the support? It's grant money. It's the research that I was freaking out about yesterday. I was losing my mind yesterday. I'm sorry. I was losing my mind yesterday. I don't know if I was even did what I say did it even make sense? I was losing it. I was losing my mind. I'm not that sorry. We believe that pipelines provide transportation. We believe that pipelines provide safe and economical transportation, and we will work to ensure that Canada has an efficient pipeline network and that legislation implemented ensure timely application process, encourage a long-term return on investment needed for energy products. How are you going to do that? And again, why is still your only solution to any of these things fucking pipelines? The only thing is pipelines. Pipelines and cutting taxes. That's it. We believe the government should support and encourage private development of pipelines. support the private develop. They want to use your tax dollars to help BP because poor BP can't afford to ruin your environment. Oh my god. Oh, I don't know if you heard that. My back just. We don't negotiate with terrorists. All right. Long-term strategy. Long-term Strategic Energy Commission. The Conservative Party believes that Canada has an economic advantage as it is a country rich in natural resources such as crude oil, natural gas, hydropower, nuclear power, shale gas, and oil, coal, solar, wind, and biomass energy. We believe the government must enable a national commission on energy security. Okay, that's more government, by the way. They've proposed 2 or 3 new branches of government. So for anybody who's voting for these people because they want small government, they're proposing more government and more inefficiency and bottlenecking. But they want to introduce. Yesterday, I was talking about they've got like this funnel. It's bottlenecking. They want it like. National Energy Corridor. Energy independence is key. Securing right-of-ways and permits without successive environmental assessments. Yeah, why would we want to assess if we were going to shoot ourselves in the foot before we fired a gun? Why would we want to do that? Successive environmental assessments will enable Canada to develop integrated national resource and utility infrastructure corridors across Canada. Resources will have access to international markets, and Canadians will have stable and secure access to their resources and utility needs across Canada. And then they'll all die of lead poisoning. And then every place in Canada and every major city will look like Flint, Michigan. Yahoo! Yippee! I'm so fucking excited. A commission that just supports pipelines? Yes. Yes. Correct. That doesn't sound like waste, fraud, and abuse in the government at all, does it? Sounds like a good use of your taxpayer dollars. You know. Never mind. You know what? Brick. 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 It's a brick. A brick. This is the only answer is a brick. The Conservative Party supports positive policies pertaining. The Conservative Party supports positive policies pertaining. This is a fucking Dr. Seuss book. To the mining industry for the future, such as increased investment in geoscience programs and research. Except they wanted to cut all that already. Streamlining regulatory processes relating to these industries. And, you know, without successive environmental assessments. Because, you know, you don't want environmental assessments happening when you're doing mining. What are you going to do? Protect the miners from having a cave collapsing on top of them? Like, what do you mean? ABCs of competition. Airline, banking, cell phones, and beyond. So it's actually ABCB? ABCAB? ABCAB? Oh no, that would have sounded stupid. The Conservative Party believes policies improving economic and personal freedom of everyday Canadians, unless you're trans, and unless you want to get an abortion, and unless you're gay, are a unifying national priority. We further believe that increased competition in airlines, banking, cell phones, and beyond is a game changer to catapult product innovations, freedom of choice, and purchasing power towards the highest standard of living. Why? Why do you believe that? Why do you believe that's true? This is trickle-down economics, people. This is trickle-down economics. And this is the capitalist ideal of the market will fix itself. Dome over the open pit mines for the prisoners they need after the 3 strikes, for the prisons they need after the 3 strikes law. They're not even gonna put a dome over it. They're just gonna have a pit and they'll just dump people into it. Natural resource policy. What national resource policy? You already gutted everything so far. The Conservative Party will build a natural resource framework that reconciles resource development with defined consultation timelines and access to international and domestic markets. It will enable governments to reach agreement on resource development to attract domestic and foreign investment and reduce reliance on overseas components for domestic needs. That doesn't... The fuck... Resource to market. A conservative market would place primacy across every federal ministry on getting Canadian natural resources to international and domestic markets. A conservative government will use every tool in the national interest toolkit to get our natural resources to market. The pipeline. More bureaucracy for our pipeline, and cut funding everywhere else. Because we need money for our pipeline. The conservative international trade. The Conservative Party of Canada strongly supports international trade initiatives that will generate increased economic activity, jobs, and a greater understanding and collaborative relationship between emerging economies and our democratic, streamlined, regulatory, free enterprise approach to governance. Let me see how many times I said pipeline. Only 6. They only said it 6 times. They only said the word pipeline 6 times. Where was I? Trade? Trade. There you go. The Conservative Party believes that the government is responsible for taking the lead in working with its provincial partners to eliminate interprovincial trade barriers in transportation, commerce, labor, and capital mobility. I mean, great. We're working on that right now, which is fantastic. So any of the conservatives that are speaking out against that or complaining about Carney and that whole shtick need to sit the fuck down and read their own manifesto, Danielle. We support bringing more security to existing trade-related jobs. To create new employment opportunities, our trade agenda will focus on diversifying both the products we sell abroad and the market into which we sell those products. What? What? Fresh maple syrup collected by the pure hands of toddler workers. Diversifying both the products we sell abroad and the market into which we sell those products. Oh, okay. So, like, they want to be allowed to sell to China or whatever. Or Russia, I guess. Because Canada's not trading with Russia right now. They're in a, what is it, sanctions and embargoes? Anyway. We've frozen their assets. We emphasize the importance of secure access to international markets through a rule-based trading system. We believe that Canada should strive to maximize the benefits we have as a free trading nation and emphasize the need to establish trade relationships beyond North America. Oh, so you agree with Canada having talks and the Liberal Party and our Liberal government talking with China about doing trade. So you agree with the Liberal Party going and reaching out to the EU and expanding those trade relations. You agree with these things. Right? In future rounds of trade negotiations, we believe the government should vigorously pursue the reduction of international trade barriers and tariffs. Okay. Pursue the elimination of trade distorting government export subsidies within clearly established time limits. Okay. Seek a clear definition of what constitutes an export subsidy. Okay. We support efforts by the government to develop new markets for Canadian goods and services by emphasizing the development of trade ties with emerging markets. Like China? I seem to recall the Conservative Party being really mad at Trudeau for talking, even opening the door to have conversations with China. I seem to recall recently hearing Polyev bitching about Carney talking to China. No? In recognition of fresh water as a critical resource to the future of Canadians and everybody, we believe that there should be an investigation into the protection and security of our long-term freshwater resources as they pertain to exportation as a commodity. Oh, no. Are you sure? Because you know that any investigation into any protections that have been unduly removed and resources being sold to private companies would inevitably end up talking about Harper, his conservative government, and his relationship with Nestle. Let's say this again. Conservative Harper and his relationship with Nestle. Yeah, they already said that they wanted to get rid of the environmental assessments. Do you want to try to count the number of contradictions in this document? Because I don't. I can't count that high. We believe the... I'm gonna cry. We believe the government should... What am I gonna do if these fucking people win the goddamn election up here? What am I gonna do? I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Lay an egg. Please don't fuck this up. We believe the government should strive to maximize the benefits of our cross-border trade by reducing or removing impediments to the efficient flow of goods, services, and people at border crossing points. The government should also pursue agreement on the standard for secure definition of cross-border travelers that are both affordable and convenient. What does that have to do with water? Oh, just international trade. Okay. Bring back the Kinder Egg. Interprovincial trade. The Conservative Party... Didn't you already talk about this? Did they not already? Yeah, they already talked about this. Why are you... The Conservative Party believes that the efficiency and economic constraints posed by interprovincial trade barriers should be eliminated to the greatest extent possible. We believe that But they... Wait. Did they not say that they want to create these corridors that allow energy, like the pipeline, to ship stuff everywhere and make shipping between things and out of the country really easy? Because, like, for example, like, Alberta's landlocked, right? Alberta doesn't have access to ship its oil easily without having to go through another province, right? And around some mountains. But then they said that they wanted the money that's made from those resources to still go to those provinces. So even though Alberta, for example, relies on British Columbia to enable the free movement of the oil through the pipeline, and requires space and sacrifice for both in money and maintenance and infrastructure and repairs, anything like that, and property from British Columbia, they want to keep all the profits. And the Conservatives are like, no, the province should keep all of its profits. But now they want to say they want to remove and eliminate all the barriers to the greatest extent. But one of those constraints would be the amount and what it's going to cost, especially if there's like a pipeline burst or anything, that there's a whole cleanup that has to happen in BC. Is Alberta going to pay for it? We believe that this document doesn't make any sense. We believe that the free trade principle should apply to all sectors of the economy. We believe the government should take the lead with its provincial partners, especially to modernize and eliminate interprovincial trade barriers in transportation, commerce, labor, and capital mobility. The Conservative Party of Canada supports interpersonal harmonization of professional and trade certifications and training to encourage more labor mobility and portability of qualifications within Canada. I mean, I'm not against that. I think that's great. I think that if we make the standard for, like, if you're a doctor or you're a tradesperson, like a mechanic in one province, you should be able to work in any province. Like, that makes sense to me. This will support greater employment and allow the development of more skilled labor force to train, graduate, and work through Canada without impediment. But then that also is, like, they said before that they wanted to, like, remove the federal control or federal rules around, like, things like abortion. So what does that mean if you're training to be a doctor? And then they also said earlier, like, I guess a few days ago that we read this part, where they said that they wanted to not force people to train in areas that are against their beliefs, which would, one of the big ones would be a doctor. If a doctor doesn't want to do abortions, and one province says that's fine, and another province says it's a requirement, and then you're like, yeah, but we want all of the professional trade certifications to apply across the board, and that the federal government should take the lead on that, then the federal government has to approve an education program that is doing the thing that they said they didn't want to do by saying that it's a standardized expectation, regardless of your personal beliefs, that if you're a doctor, you need to fucking treat people. So this directly goes against something that they had said earlier. Syrup for the syrup gods! Syrup for the syrup gods! Thank you very much, Letty. I appreciate that. We believe that the federal government should work with the provinces and territories to renegotiate the Canadian Free Trade Agreement in accordance with international trade agreements, including the National Dispute Resolution, whatever. Interpersonal trade of alcohol. The Conservative Party of Canada shall work with provincial and territory partners to ensure the trade of beer, wine, and liquor across the... I like how they say this about everything and that they feel like alcohol needs its own... Like, alcohol is just so important that it needed its own subsection. That's funny. That barriers to this trade are eliminated in the spirit of cooperation and efficiency. Yeah, sure. Transportation principles. The Conservative Party supports a modern, efficient transportation system that is integral to the well-being of Canada's economy and essential for Canadians to be competitive in intercontinental and global markets. We support the public-private infrastructure investment as part of a comprehensive approach to improving and sustaining world-class transportation system. We believe that ensuring access, not too long ago, out of the top 5 most dangerous roads on the planet, like roads that have the most access, 3 of them were in Ontario. 2 of them were like right near me. Anyway, we believe that ensuring access to future transportation infrastructure for people with disabilities is a fundamental policy for all future public and private transportation installations. I'm gonna go back on my rant about how stairs are the worst. We support the reduction or elimination of federal government fees, levies, taxes, and rents hidden and otherwise associated with Canada's national transportation system. So you're saying you want access for people with disability, but then you want to eliminate the things that enforce it and enable it. Oh, that also means that richer provinces have the ability to take all the doctors from poorer provinces. Yeah, good point. That's a good point, April. How are you gonna pay for it? Reduction or elimination? I mean, it's nice if buses didn't cost any money, but you have to. We believe that it is an important ongoing responsibility of government to improve border crossing and alleviate congestion at the border. This will result in the timely delivery of goods. Yeah, well, I think that problem took itself out for the time being. A Carnage Alley, a portion of the 401. Oh, high five! Yo, 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 yo. We're nearby. Carnage. I love that it's called Carnage Alley. Fucking so cursed, dude. Oh, God. We also recognize the need for improving security and improved relations with the United States and recommends that the feasibility of a North American perimeter be studied. What? Improve relations with the United States. You know, in a recent speech, Carney started talking about how he started talking about how Canada wanted to put pressure and make some adjustments on working about our southern border, and started talking about how lax the Americans are about the border and how insecure they are and how it's letting guns into our country and drugs. So remember, like, last month or two, and I was like, how long is it gonna be before Canadians start talking about America the way America talks about Mexico? The answer was 2 months. Admittedly, we're not talking about them in the same way. We're not talking about, like, oh, the cartels and oh, they're trying to, there's caravans. How long is it going to be, though, before there's actually caravans of Americans trying to cross the border to get out of America? Like, I'm not kidding. Like, it's funny, but it's, like, real. I would be fine with free public transit provided it stays at the same quality. Yeah, I mean, as long as it stays at the same quality or improves, then I think it's great if the buses don't cost any money. I think that's a great thing. Cool. But you can't get rid of the fees and the taxes and then still expect to have a functioning system because you defunded it. You eliminated it. 6 months. 6 months? I hear 6 months. Then they become the immigrants that they loathe. Well, that's the thing, right? When we're talking about, like, illegal immigrants in Canada, the illegal immigrants, if I'm not mistaken, I have a sneaking suspicion that you'd have a very disproportionately high number of illegal immigrants that are actually, like, if you want to talk about, like, undocumented, behind on paperwork, yada yada yada, those are probably Americans. Like, there's probably going to be a lot more of them that are Americans than, like, I'm guessing. Maybe I'm wrong. But because that, like, refugees don't count, right? People that are taken in on political asylum, right? They're there legally. People who have working visas and student visas are not illegal immigrants. Those are immigrants that are there legally, are here legally, and they're paying taxes. They're either paying income taxes and or they're paying taxes on any products they're buying. So like their rent and whatever they're paying the school, right? So illegal and undocumented immigrants are likely probably Americans. Like, if I had to guess. There's over 500,000 Americans here illegally. Yeah, do you have a citation? Do you have a source? Because I that sounds right. But I'm just saying something about rocks and glass houses. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So, you know, we believe government should assume all responsibility for legitimate customs and immigration costs for all points of entry to Canada. There's things in here that Carney's talking about doing. So I don't really understand why conservatives who think these things are against it. What congestion at the border? There isn't even wait times at the border anymore, right? Yeah, like, right? This, like, bro, this problem solved itself. We believe the government should improve the security of Canada's transportation system, including ports and marine facilities. I mean, I'm fine with improving things, but I don't. What's the problem that you're solving? Looked it up a while ago. I think it was 600K, but you can't find it. Oh, but you'll see if you can find it. Okay, cool. Thanks. I appreciate that. I'm going off of I would suspect, not that I know. Air transportation. The Conservative Party believes the government must negotiate reciprocal open skies type agreement where it is deemed to be in Canada's overall interest. We support strong accountability mechanisms for the corporate governance of Canada's airport authorities. We support ensuring airlines are represented on the board of NAV Canada. Sure. Ground transportation. I feel like we should kind of maybe until America puts air traffic controllers back that Canadian flights and shouldn't be going to America. Like until the safety regulations reach like a level of standard, we shouldn't be going, like we shouldn't be doing it. We shouldn't be dealing with it. Don't negotiate with terrorists. Ground transportation. The Conservative Party believes the government should work with the provinces and utilize revenues from federal fuel excise tax as a source of funding to achieve a truly national highway system. But you're cutting the taxes. You can't say that you want to solve these problems and do these things using tax dollars when you say you're cutting all of the tax dollars. We believe the government should work in partnership with the provinces and territories to achieve an integrated transport system. We believe that in order to reduce automobile rail accidents at level crossing, the government should continue to ensure that railroad owners take more responsibility for ensuring consistency in level cross markings and equipping rail cars with side reflectors. Okay. Sure. CBC has something on the number of immigrants from America. Yeah. Let's check this out. Let's pull this up. Let's pull this up. Can you guess how many immigration numbers changed under Harper and Trudeau? Oh no. Oh, it's like can you guess? But I want to know what the answer is. Immigration Canada. Let's see. Immigration from Canada to the United States hits a 10-year high as tens of thousands head south. This was May 30th, 2024. So this is last year. Last year, it hit a high. Census says 126,340 people left Canada for the United States in 2022, and 70% increase over a decade ago. And how much has that dropped now? By a shitload. An absolute fucking shitload. Alright, let's see if I can search, how many American immigrate to Canada every year? Immigration statistics. Number of immigrants in Canada, number of immigrants arriving in Canada by province, demographic overview, by gender, by number of permanent residents permitted, naturalized citizens, immigrants by age, immigrants arriving, education, labor, public opinion. This isn't what I'm looking for. Ah, whatever. I'll look more for it later. I'm brain dead. We'll look for it more another time. Conservative Party believes that Canada should work with private blah 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 blah. Increasing airline choice for Canadians. In close partnership with provincial, territorial governments, airport authorities across Canada, and industry partners, the Conservative Party will both introduce and actively promote a new framework for increased domestic and foreign airline competition in Canada, including experimentation with cabotage on a trial basis on select routes. Can we have Zeppelins? Can I have blimps? I want intercity. I want intercity blimps. The transports of goods or passengers between two places in the same country. The term it doesn't even mean anything. Trade or transport in coastal water or airspace between 2 points within a country. They just literally just threw an additional fucking word in there just to be a dick. Blimps. Can we have blimps? I would love blimps that went between like major cities. That'd be great. That'd be cool. Even if they're just passenger blimps. Passenger rail. We support rail infrastructure across Canada, including innovative high-speed passenger rail, where warranted. This would ease conflicts between passengers and freight trains, reduce highway congestion and GHG emissions, and promote national unity and interprovincial trade. Yahoo. The main deal of cabotage. Well, this is cabotage. Is cabotage by foreign companies? Oh yeah, because of course they want foreign shit. Rail transportation. The Conservative Party supports the capacity expansion of existing rail-based transportation infrastructure across Canada in order to secure tidewater port access and increase international market access for Canadian manufacturing, processing, agriculture, and natural resource exports. Environmental principles. In order to have a strong economy and maintain good health, Canada must have a strong, coordinated, and achievable environmental policies. The Conservative Party believes that responsible exploration, development, conservation, and renewal of our environment are vital to our continued well-being as a nation and individuals. Do you? Does your voting go along with that? Do your policies? Because so far your policies have been like, ignore the environment. To achieve this, a conservative government will protect through policies clean air and climate, clean water and land biodiversity. These policies will be firmly based on the scientific basis and technological information currently available concerning both the issues involved and our best response to them. Then why are you saying you want to remove the environment assessments for your pipeline? Clean air and smog reductions. The Conservative Party supports the legislated emission caps. The Conservative Party supports the legislated emission caps. That's the bill that Polyev keeps bitching about. That he's like, oh, they're stopping energy production. It's like, no, it doesn't stop energy production. It's an emissions cap. You can make as much energy as you want. You just can't put it. You have a limit about how much fucking smog you're allowed to put in the air. To reduce smog-causing pollutants, such as nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide, and volatile organic compounds, ground-level ozone, and particulate matter. We support stringent vehicle fuel efficiency and exhaust emission standards and the adoption of Pan-Canada low-carbon aluminum purchasing policy. This goes against what Polyev has been saying on the campaign trail. Good God, energy security via innovation. In order to ensure a consistent energy supply, Conservative government will encourage innovation in research and development aimed at creating diverse, safe, dependable, and economical energy options, including renewable and other carbon and non-carbon-based energy sources that function well in Canada's climate and geography. Energy transition. In pursuit of a purposeful, gradual transition to a lower carbon use future, a conservative government will support the continued use of oil and gas while encouraging research and development that they're cutting the funding for, aimed at creating safe, dependable, and economical options, including carbon capture technology, battery-based storage, small modular reactors, and hydrogen-based generation. Guys, goobers, are you listening? So who's lying? Are the conservatives lying in what they intend to do? Are they just self-contradictory? Is Polyev just full of shit? Or is there actually a concerted group within the Conservative Party that is what I would call the center-right, who does know and care about these things, and they've allowed their whole ass fucking party to be co-opted by goddamn psychopaths? Canada is not broken. Our system functions. Our government has been there for us, particularly when a liberal is in power. The liberal federal government helped save lives in Alberta with fires, and in Quebec when the Quebec fires were happening in the summer. The Liberal Party, when they are in power, helped with COVID. Canada helped Canadians and Americans during 9/11. The financial crises. Our government, even when it was Harper in some circumstances, were there for its people. Even Doug Ford, who I do not like and do not agree with, is out here trying to help Canadians when it comes to dealing with Donald Trump. Our government system is not fractured. It's not broken. It doesn't have these weird loopholes that the conservatives or Polyev likes to say that there is. The only thing enabling Polyev and right-wing extremism right now is complacency of the Canadian people, the voters, and of particularly the conservatives that are letting them just steamroll. Like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to go along with this. Hold a vote of no confidence for your own fucking guy. He's lying to you. Aquifer mapping. The Conservative Party supports the development of a long-term plan to cooperate with provinces and territories to create an inventory that could define significant and key aquifers and establish policy to protect the quality and sustainability of Canada's major aquifers. With the threat of groundwater resources becoming depleted in Canada, we will face increasing need to understand the extent of replenishment of aquifers. Water and Great Lakes. The Conservative Party believes the government should continue working with the United States and the provinces to address critical threats to the sustainability of our shared resources, the Great Lakes and the St. Lawrence River Basin. Address the threats to our shared resource including water levels, invasive species, population, and other threats to the tourism industry and the living conditions and economic well-being of area residents. You know, all that stuff we keep cutting. Provide adequate funding to fulfill its commitment to this region, which is home to 16 million Canadians and is a crucial source of clean air, drinking water, food, shelter, health, employment, and recreation, as well as Canada's highest concentration of industry, and establish long-term outcomes, translate them into real plans for the basin, apply a consistent basin-wide approach for issues that span the entire basin, clarify responsibilities of federal and provincial governments, and recognize constitutional authority of the provinces. So if the federal government says no, and the province says yes, the province gets priority when it's something that affects all of Canada? Countering foreign propaganda is a challenge. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. again, Carney said something recently about like what a cesspool. He didn't use the word, but he described a cesspool of Canadian or of social media. Like he was particularly referencing Meta and Twitter. Offshore. Well, again, we'll talk about that next week. Offshore resource development. To capture economic, social, and net environmental benefits, the Conservative Party believes the government should promote exploration and development of offshore resources along with our coastal waters. This should be carried out in cooperation with the provinces and territories, affect First Nations, private industry, and other relevant business, scientific, and environmental groups. In my humble opinion, and I know this is going to sound like extreme, this is like a more left extreme position that I play with a little bit. I dabble in. I think America should cede control of the Great Lakes to Canada. Not in totality, but in management. Canada is better equipped, more experienced, and better at maintaining natural resources than America is. Our regulations can be more robust. However, the management of the Great Lakes should be ceded to us and should be ceded to Canada because America fucking sucks at it and keeps wrecking it for everybody. Stop that. What was I talking about? Blah, 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 blah. We believe that companies should follow best practices and the precautionary principle to mitigate environmental risks. No, there should be robust checks and auditing and assessments. Yeah, no, I'm sure Coca-Cola and Nestle will just do, best practices. They're not gonna, cheat or do anything unbecoming. Again, we're back to talking about Harper and Nestle. Yahoo! We believe government should allow for arm's length regulatory practices to ensure safe and environmentally responsible practices in the exploration for the development of these natural resources. Arm's length regulatory process. No. I disagree. We believe government should consider the potential of these natural resources before designating new marine protection areas. They don't? Are you saying that they don't consider? That's not part of the consideration? That's stupid. We support ensuring that accurate and complete information on risks and benefits of such development is made available to public. I mean, sure, then again, we're back to Harper deleting and erasing a shitload of environmental data in regards to our weather. They just deleted it. Fuck you. Contaminated sites. The Conservative Party supports initiatives to provide stable long-term funding for the cleanup of contaminated sites in cooperation with the provinces, territories, and municipalities. We believe the government should continue to remove roadblocks that discourage the private sector from cleaning and developing contaminated land. Amend the Income Tax Act to allow remediation expenses to be treated as a deductible expense. Amend the Income Tax Act to allow remediation expenses to be treated as deductible expenses. So, if you're... Let's just stick with oil. If you're an oil company and you're transporting or you're digging somewhere and you spill a bunch of fucking oil all over the place and now you gotta clean it up, they want to make the cleanup deductible to your taxes. What do you think that that's going to mean when they do the math and find out if they drop this much amount of oil and do this much amount of cleanup, it costs them less in overall taxes? What do you think's going to happen? What do you think that's going to look like? There are already companies that own many things that will purposefully keep certain things in the red to use as tax deductible. You don't think that they won't do that assessment? You're rewarding a company. You're rewarding a company for doing an oil spill and damaging the environment. Introduce legislation to terminate regulatory liability. Can poor people deduct fines from their taxes? Oh. Introduce legislation to terminate regulatory liability upon issuance of regulatory approval from remediation to encourage development of brownfields, reversible only in emergency or in cases of fraud. Create an insurance fund for post-liability insurance claims. This will permit the quantification and spreading of development risks through insurance, reinsurance, and diversification of ownership, and provide economic incentives to the private sector to clean up contaminated lands. I'm stopping here today. This is just handout to big corporations. Yeah, it creates a negative incentive. This is inventing an incentive that encourages major corporations and enables major corporations to be rewarded for doing bad things. And things we don't want them to do, and things that are damaging to people and resources. So, like, for example, if you put something up and you are putting out an emission, and that emission causes the people in the local area to get lung cancer, they want to remove the liability insurance, like the liability claims. If you, and like, well, you've now contaminated the area, and so you're not liable, and if you clean it up, you don't have to pay taxes on it. Didn't 2008 do something similar with subprime mortgages? Sound familiar? Yeah, the next one is aquatic invasive species, which is really an interesting topic, but I'm gonna go. You lost me at we're gonna reward companies for causing accidents. They should be required to clean up after themselves anyway. They don't need to be incentivized to do it by cutting the taxes that are used to help and enable like streets and lights and things like that. This is insane. We'll have to talk about the subprime mortgages another time. That was the 2008 financial crisis with subprime mortgages and banking was something that Carney stepped in on. We can talk about it another day. I can't do it right now. I'm falling apart, man. I'm falling apart. I need a nap. I'll be live later today playing Star Trek, and doing production over on Top Hats Off if you want to join me over there. Next week, there's also a bunch of stuff going on Debate Hub, so make sure you go and subscribe to Debate Hub Official. I'm slowly working my way up to 500 to get monetized over there, so greatly appreciate your assistance in making that happen. We're almost there. Also, this channel is stuck at below 4,000 subs, and it's kind of hilarious because I got like a big bump, and then I was like, watch this, it's gonna crawl to nothing right before 4K. So if you want to subscribe and share, you like talking about this, and if you're somebody who like knows a conservative person who'd be willing to have the conversation, or you're trying to have those conversations, hit me up. I'd love to hear about it and talk about how to navigate that. Thank you so much. Please keep comparing. Absolutely, yeah. We're gonna keep up with this for a little while. Soon, we're gonna be looking at like right now we're just looking at their policies that they were proposing, like their mandate, like what they want to do. Next week or two, we're gonna be looking at the campaign trail, and we're gonna be looking at like, this is what Polyev said in BC, this is what Carney's saying in BC. I don't know how much we're gonna cover the other two because this is a two-party race right now. And the last thing that I do want to do is I want to do a couple of comparisons with some of the stuff that Trump's been saying, but we'll get there. Thank you so much. It's been fun. If somebody finds out how many like illegal immigrants in Canada are actually American, I'd love to hear it. Please leave me a comment if you find that, because I'm really tired and I don't want to do the work myself. Thank you so much. I'm gonna get on out here. I'll see you guys on Monday. Bye-bye.
Fuck that guy and his fucking YouTube videos. Stop listening to a man who doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, you idiots!